seriously, because they tried me. Seriously. I was tried and I was tested by family members and staff and other patients in this place, like bullied and everything, in this wheelchair, and they're on their feet, and I wish they would. And I made it very clear to them, you can say what you want to say. That doesn't bother me, because yes, I am in this wheelchair and I'm not handicapped or disabled. You present more disabled than me. So me still having that aggressive and authoritative and leadership mentality that I had prior to my injury, I had to apply it there. I just had to apply it in a different way. Like now, I'm still gonna check your ass. I'm just gonna check you in a more polite way, because
Yeah.
like my number one saying, even to my clients. So I'm currently a mental health professional, got a second master's in clinical psychology, going from a PhD in clinical and health psychology. So I tell my clients now, when they come to me for a consultation, I tell them, I can give you all the tools. We can read about it. We can try this. We can try that. It is about you. If you are not intentional about changing your mind or how you think, guess what? You're going to be stuck right where your ass been. If you change your mind, everything else will follow suit. Once I changed my mind, I became more physically able to live independent. I became more physically able, I became more emotionally stable to help the next individual in a wheelchair. That's where the YouTube channel comes in at. Because it's like, oh, okay, this is not the end of my life. Knowing that this is not the end of my life, I am not disabled. I have more abilities than I do have this lack of limitation of just getting up, walking, and running like Tom and Joe. And that's okay, because I'm still going to get around faster. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, find the positive, find the benefits of any circumstance, any situations. So check it. We all have some type of disadvantage, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, whatever. Literally, you can be homeless. We all have this. It's about how you respond to it and how you perceive it that dictates the actual outcome of being a benefit or a hindrance.
It was a lot. It was a lot that went into Truth and Misery. It was because it was during that process, and when I was in school or college or what have you, I would I went into the library my last semester and I just read. I like to read all the time, but you get caught up in university life. You get to They tell you, all right, you got to read this chapter for this class and this chapter for this. You get so caught up in what they tell you to do, and you got access to all this information that is endless. They got newspapers in there from like 1906, like history about the country and stuff like that. So it was that day that I went in the library and I just grabbed a bunch of books and I stayed in there all day and I just read. And I learned so much just about everything. About like it made my classes make sense. It made just history, finance books, but what I wanted, like how I wanted it. And in that time, I realized, the truth about a lot of things, the truth about school, the financial system, that a lot of things on the financial markets. It was truth about my injury. It was truth about, because I don't know if I ever told you this, but I didn't go through my I guess you want to say postpartum depression from being in a wheelchair until I was 25, 26. Because as a girl, you kind of, something's wrong, but for some reason kids are resilient. Like kids have this thing in their minds, and I feel like adults do too, but they bury it over time. But it's a thing that happens for the human body to keep going, like despite hardship, despite a setback. It's like a no quit thing, but it's like your brain forgets or it turns something off that says feel sorry for you. It turns that thing off that says feel sorry for yourself. And you just keep going. You try, you try, you try. Some people have told me that's just my spirit, and I was blessed with that. But then also, it takes effort to keep trying. And I feel like a lot of that truth and misery was just like, it was a low part of my life. And so that was a miserable part. But it was also like so much truth in it about how much I'm willing to fight. And this is my reality. And, you know, it's just basically what it says. And I didn't even know that it said knowledge is misery, what you just told me. Wisdom. I didn't even know that it closely correlated like that, but I would say that's about the same thing in a nutshell, because I learned about myself, I learned about the people around me, I learned about, decisions that you make, I learned just everything. Truth. Healing journey is every day, right? Like it's not stop. That part, it just don't stop. It's effort to love yourself every day. And then love yourself is just the title. Then you gotta put the little dots and make a section of, okay, well, if you love yourself, you gotta wake up in the morning, or you gotta every day put 30 minutes in the exercise. It's part of loving yourself. Despite how you may feel about how you have to do it, or when you gotta do it, or what you gotta go through to get there to do it, that is under a part of loving yourself. And loving yourself is not always fun. It's helpful, but it's not always fun. At 25, and it was like deja vu for me, like my whole life flashed before my eyes, and I'm sitting there in the front yard, like watching this man cut grass. And that was one of the last things I did, was cut grass at night, go to sleep, wake up, ride a bike, have it for 2 hours, and not no more. And as I'm watching him cut the grass, I realized, like, wow, like I used to do that, and I got money for it, and I bought the bike, and that was the last thing I did. And my relationships failing, like it's going up in smoke, and I'm sitting on the porch like by myself in misery, looking at this man cut the grass, and my life is flashing before my eyes. And then it just hit me like, damn, all that happened to me. And it took, and that was, like I said, I was around 20, 24, 25. And I'd say in learning that, you hit a low phase, but then it's like, okay, well, this is your life. You've done a tremendous amount of things. People love you, right? Like, but all of the love that you get from people, it don't sustain until you really start like appreciating yourself and loving yourself and appreciating unity and everything that comes with what you have, and maximizing it to the most. Even when you feel like you can't maximize it, you can't. Like even when you feel like you're tapped, you're not. You're just tired.
If you look at these two hands, right? It's two hands. I own these two hands. This is my responsibility. This wheelchair comes with thousands of problems. I can tell you problems after hospitalizations over and over and over. But what happens is, I own these hands. I own this wheelchair. The wheelchair don't own me.
Inspiration is expensive. Pay the cost. Join our community for merch and more at ownyourinspiration.com.